Man,
Lots and lots of intrigue in this one. Dare I say,
so much
people,
intrigue.
people's main event.
I'll agree. Let's do it.
I mean,
We'll
this,
do it.
the Gant Spivak fight's very good. Don't get me wrong, but I think for me, my interest lies more in this co-main event with Manon Fiorot welcoming the former two-time strawweight champion Rose Namjunas to flyweight.
Hmm.
Dominic Manon Fiorot a minus 205.
Woo!
Rose sits at a plus 170. That line is climbing for Manon as well. And I can tell you that, Dominic, because I took Rose.
Oh, what number did you get her at then?
Plus 154. So I'm not too happy
Wow.
about that. I would have loved to have jumped on this sooner. But
I
we'll
wouldn't have
get
thought the
in.
line would go worse though. I would have
Yeah,
thought they
so
would
I'm
lose.
me too. That's why I
Yeah.
jumped on it sooner. I guess I should have been really checking that. But we'll talk about why I played
Hmm.
it in a second. But to kind of set this up, Dominic, the last time we saw Rose was when she lost her title. She did it to the great Carla Esparza. It was a barn burner of a fight.
Yeah.
Truly one for the books.
Fight of the
Have
century.
not seen her since, and the fallout of that fight was maybe just as bad for her as the fight itself was, because you had that infamous appearance on Ariel's MMA Hour. Not necessarily her; she did kind of pop in, but Pat Barry, her fiance, right? They're not
I think so.
married,
Yeah.
and coach. They really dug their heels in the sand on this performance and said that she fought the perfect fight.
Hmm.
It was the first time she had ever stuck to the game plan, all this stuff, which really, was just very puzzling to say the
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen her since. She comes in here, she's fighting at a division we've never seen her in. Again, someone in Manon Fior who has tons of potential. We both have been pretty high on her in the past. Does feel like with all the names kind of emerging at flyweight, she has sort of become, I don't know, forgotten about's the right word, but I think some of her momentum has slightly lessened
I
because
think so.
maybe, the wins have gotten maybe less impressive. She's becoming maybe less active. I don't know if the numbers would speak to that, but it feels like it anyway.
Hmm.
So where do you kind of sit in this matchup here? Manon's being favored pretty heavily against someone who has proven she can be the best of her weight class in 10 pounds lighter. How do you see this one going?
It's crazy that Manon is a bigger favorite over former champion Rose than Gon is against Sergey Spivak, for one. I think that's
That's,
wild to say that.
yeah.
I promise we're not shitting on Sergey Spivak, by the way, either. It's just it's gone. It's nothing about Spivak.
Did
The
we
polar bear
mention?
is a
Did we
beast.
mention that we hope that the polar ice caps melt and that all the polar
Oh
bears
my,
die?
yeah.
Just to put the
But
cherry on top. Coca Cola should do away with the polar bear logo. I mean, we just
and if
hate
he
it.
wins, put Sergey on the Coca-Cola can.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
okay, so this fight, I don't agree with this line, and that could be reason enough for me to bet on Rose. But then you just really dig in here and you look at the level of competition, you favor that to Rose. You look at the better, well-rounded, all-around mixed martial artist is Rose Namajunas. The only thing here in this fight is the striking. Manon has a karate background, a great striker, but Rose Namajunas is a pretty fucking good striker as well, Noah, and can kick and has very good boxing. She was with Trevor Whitman for multiple years, multiple camps. Former champion. Is the line this way solely based off of a stinker with Carla Esparza and moving up a weight class? Like, I don't really understand this line. I mean, Rose was never a big strawweight, so I don't think she's going to be like a big flyweight. I think Manon's going to be bigger. But is it going to be that much more significant, the size here? I just can't see that. Rose, I've seen pictures of her. Looks like she's putting on some good muscle. I listened to her talk today. I wanted to get all the factors for Rose before I wanted to bet on her. She seems mentally ready. She said that she was ready to go up to 125. It's something that's always been in her head. She didn't want to make that extra 10-pound cut anymore. She said the longer she went, the harder it got. Here she comes to 125. I think she's going to fill out well. I want to see her, obviously, at weigh-ins, but I just look at all those factors, and I have a hard time justifying where these odds are, regardless of how good Manon is. I think it's just a little bit disrespectful to Rose Namajunas here, Noah.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far. I definitely, you can tell with Fight Pact, I bet it when it was plus 154 that I do think the lines are too far in Manon's favor. I think a big reason for that is it's not necessarily just like the Carla fight or just the move up, but you take the Carla fight itself is there's a bigger story there to where there are so many variables whenever Rose fights that it becomes very hard to really kind of know what you're getting out of her
Sure.
sometimes.
Mm,
Mentally, that's always been a factor in her fights. I mean, think back to when she lost the belt the first time to Andrade. She
mhm.
was talking about this relief she felt to not hold the title anymore. Almost like she felt more comfortable chasing the title than actually being the champion holding the title.
Yeah.
And then when she captured it that second time, a lot of people thought Weili Zhang was really building up herself as one of the biggest stars in
Yeah.
women's MMA and this Chinese star. She had the best women's fight of all time with Joanna.
Mhm.
Rose knocked her out in like a minute, and then goes on in the rematch to personally, I remember
It was
scoring
tight.
it for Zhang, but
Yeah.
very close. But she
Yeah.
does get the win there, only to go on and fight someone who in Carla Esparza, who yes, she lost to before, but at this point in their careers, it felt like Weili Zhang was a much tougher test than Carla Esparza was, and they just really didn't have a fight. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if she really lost to Carla so much as she just lost
To
in
herself.
general.
Like, she beat
Yeah,
herself. Like,
yeah, like it's I got Carla didn't do anything that
yeah.
great. Hard to say anybody was a winner. I think everybody
Like,
lost.
if that fight wasn't for a title, it'd be so much easier to just erase it from all of our brains. But it
That's the
wasn't. A title changed
problem.
hands that
Like,
night.
I remember when it was all over, before the scorecards were read off, I think we were all texting in our group chat, and I'm like, I just hope they give Rose that title back. Like, I don't know if she
Yeah.
won the fight, but
Let's
I just
move
want
on.
this. Let's move on. I feel like Rose is the better fighter. I don't know what the hell this fight was.
Yeah.
Can we just forget it ever happened? And if
Yeah.
she had won, I think we would have forgotten it ever happened. At
Yeah.
least like after, if she had gone on to face whoever next,
Right.
I think it would have become just a fight that we would forget about. You'd probably occasionally mention it in the worst fights of all time, but
Mhm.
whatever. Instead, Carlos Esparza gets the nod, and there's so much more uncertainty again with Rose. We didn't know if she'd come back. Then when
Yeah.
she is coming back, she's going up to a weight class that we've never seen her at.
Yeah.
She said she does that because she wants to she needs that challenge. She feels
Mm.
like the challenges were sort of over for her at strawweight. She'd accomplished everything she wanted to,
Mm.
but in order to be the best version of herself, she felt like she needed that kind of fear going in. And
Yeah.
125 pounds was that move that sort of had scared her for a long time. But at this point, she felt it was necessary to be the best fighter she can be. And really, my biggest reason for betting on her here, like I think Manon Fiorot is very good. Like we
Mhm.
both have been high on her, and I don't necessarily think it's like a. I don't necessarily look at the. This isn't the same as the main event where I'm looking at experience and the
Mhm.
resumes because I know Rose is a 2-time champion. That's big, but Manon does have good wins. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Myra Bueno Silva, Jennifer Maya, Caitlin Chukagian.
Mhm.
Before that, Tabitha Ricci. I mean, those are good wins in my opinion. But with Rose, the moment you start to counter out or think that we've seen the best is behind her,
That's when she
is
is
when
her
she
best.
shows up and
Yeah.
she reminds us all
Yep.
of why she's one of the best to ever do it in women's
Yeah.
MMA. And I think this might be another moment for that. You mix that in with Manon, while she's getting the win, she's clearly winning these fights with Jennifer Maya, Caitlin Chukagian, and whatnot. It seems like the gap is closing for her and her competition.
Yeah.
That Jennifer Maya fight was kind of we saw that one live in
Mhm.
Columbus, and I remember being kind of surprised at how competitive
Yeah.
that fight was. And
Yeah.
then the Caitlin Chukagian fight, Caitlin Chukagian, whether we like it or not, has had a stronghold on that like number
She's
one
tough for
contender spot.
anybody to, like, look
So
good
it's
against.
hard, yeah, it's hard to put too much on that,
Yeah.
but she did beat her. It
Yeah.
just it was just not the most exciting fight in the world. Hard to like have a ton of positive takeaways. So maybe that plays a factor into why I still am riding with Rose because she's had those big moments in her past, while Manon is remaining, she's moving up the ladder. She's doing all the right things, but she's there ever since really that win over Tabitha Ricci. It's less explosive. It's less memorable,
Yeah.
and that could play a factor here. And maybe that'll be my undoing and betting on Rose. But I'm gonna pick Rose because I'm not gonna be the one that counts her out and then she comes in and knocks out Manon Fiorot, puts on a amazing performance, and we're all like, "Holy shit!" I
Mhm.
think she is better when she's chasing the belt, and that's why we're about to see her at her best.
Yeah, and it's an intriguing fight, man. Like, because like I said, I was talking about who's good where and all that, yada yada yada. But if this is on the feet, I can't envision a world where Manon just really outclasses Rose because Rose is that good striker. But then on the flip side, if you want to say, well, Rose can maybe have her best path if she grapples or wrestles, uses her jujitsu like we've seen her do. Well, let us not forget when Manon did beat Jennifer Maya, she had to grapple quite a bit in
Mhm.
that fight and did pretty well against someone who's known for their jujitsu, who's known for stealing around from Valentina, from holding her down on the ground. So it's like Manon's no slouch on the ground, so it's not easy for Rose there. Rose is no slouch on the feet, so it's not easy for Manon there. Yet we have a 2-1 favorite in this fight. This is whew, this is exciting on so many levels. Women's flyweights on fire right now. We talk about it all the time. You're adding a former champion into the mix with all the young guns that we've been talking about. Ooh, I love it. I
And it makes
love
it more exciting. We're not even talking about the stakes here and how we could potentially be looking at the winner of this either fighting for a title
it.
or at least in a title eliminator. And it
Yeah,
is tough to figure that out because you got
yeah.
Aaron Blanchfield, you have Tatiana Suarez.
Title fight in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on, and
Hmm.
it makes it so gratifying that we have
Hmm.
been on this division for so
Yes.
long. We've been telling everybody, be wake up. This is the best women's division, or it will be at least. And I think that's coming to fruition. I never thought Rose would end up here,
Hmm.
but now that she is, I'm excited to see what she has to offer. I think she is in the driver's seat here. If she goes in
Yeah.
there and does something like she did against Weili Zhang when we last counted her out, don't be surprised if Aaron
Mm.
and Tatiana have to duke it out for that number one contender spot while she goes and takes on the winner of that fight in 2 weeks. What a world it would be, Dominic, if we see Rose versus Valentina. That would be crazy.
That would be wild.
That's a fight that was always there, but nobody ever
Yep.
talked about it.
Yep.
Everybody always talked about Valentina and Amanda 3, which I was like, get that out of my life, please.
I know. Yeah.
I was like, get it out of my room. It's like when your mom walks in your room without knocking, and you're like, just get out. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say what you're doing, but you're just like,
The
stop,
GTA 5
please.
strip club, right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah, or, yeah, yeah. Or like what I walked into in our dorm room a couple of times.